we're in a dream. We're in like this movie that we made, and we're the star of the movie, and what we don't understand is we're making it up. We are the author. And when you're making up a movie and you don't know you're the author, it's probably going to be pretty crummy. I've proven this to myself many times. So when I got kind of tired of that, I went on a spiritual quest and so on and so forth, and ended up being the first American guinea pig for this Tibetan Lama. He just threw all these practices at me, one after the other. And I really enjoyed long-term retreat, so I ended up doing all of the practices and all of the years of retreat necessary, so that then he created a ceremony, gave me a funny hat, and laminated me. So I am now Lama Tsomo, hopefully well preserved. So I wanted to share with you today a practice that I learned. It was one of the first ones I learned. And I have most recently learned from science a very important fact that I think explains one reason why, despite the social catastrophe that's going on and is going to accelerate, the environmental catastrophe that's going on that is accelerating. We know this. Right now, there's fire warning for where we are this weekend. So Jem Bendell, has anyone heard of that geologist? Jem Bendell wrote a paper called Deep Adaptation. So he's saying we can't any longer forestall catastrophe. It's like walking up an avalanche, is how he describes it. And yet, our Congress is in gridlock. The government of Brazil is inviting people to destroy the rainforest. We, for some reason, can't get our heads out of our asses to try to minimize the catastrophe. I believe that the minimizing of the catastrophe and the bringing in of the new paradigm are actually one and the same thing. And this new paradigm is based on seeing reality as it really is. And in reality, we're not each in our own movies. We're actually like waves together on one ocean. That's the reality I've been studying, that I've been living in my practices. And when I say my practices, I just mean the ones I've learned from this ancient tradition. I was ordained in the Namchak lineage, which is one of the older ones of Tibet. So this simple practice is important because here's a basic problem that's the reason why we're in gridlock like this. And we have no time to waste, right? So I think from tribal times, our brains were developed such that, and this has now been proven in the laboratory with fMRI studies, when we think about I or we, in other words, us, not them, we process things in the medial prefrontal cortex. Are you all taking notes? Just kidding. There'll be no test. But anyway, that's where we process it. And then when we're thinking about them, we're processing with the temporal parietal junction, a whole different part of the brain. And of course, we respond differently when it's for me, or my dear friend, or my relative, or my tribal member, if we go back to the time when we were all indigenous people. And so how do we get past this embarrassing fact about human brains? I mean, I was embarrassed when I read about this. So one way is this ancient practice that helps us to circumvent that very cleverly by using breath and visualization to get to lots of different parts of the brain. And start with me, and then go to mine, and then slowly expand that till everybody is us. Brilliant for outsmarting this, right? So now we can use that part of our brain that feels deep connection and feels like I am all of us. So I had a conversation with my old rabbi after I'd been laminated. And I asked him, what is the purpose of Judaism? And he said, it's to expand your sense of I, ego. Ego means I in Latin, right? Expand it to the point where it includes all and everyone. And I was delighted because that was a perfectly good way of describing the main goal of Buddhism. Now, the main goal, I usually say, is waking up. Buddha means one who's awake. But waking up then entails expanding that sense of I, seeing the whole ocean, and understanding that this wave and all waves are ocean. The ocean's nature is to make all of us, all of these waves. And we are not separate from that. We're made of it. So this practice helps us to feel our connection by feeling that reality. But we have to start with ourselves. Now let me explain the visualization and the breathing. Yes, you're going to do it right now. And I don't have a lot of time, but hopefully you'll get a taste of it. So I generally have my eyes closed for this. And I think of some theme that's up for me. And we usually have several things. This is a compassion practice. So you're going to connect and widen your circle through compassion. Now, we know what we're suffering from. We actually, as Westerners, don't give ourselves enough compassion. So I tend to like to linger on the doing it for myself first. So the way we do this practice is we imagine somebody we love, and we imagine they're suffering. Because we can't all do this together without kind of having one common theme, the theme I'm going to pick is being misunderstood. Is there anyone in this room who has never been misunderstood? Okay, it's unanimous. We've all been misunderstood. So we can pick that, because time is not really linear. We know this. So if it's not up for you right now, imagine a time when it was. So we imagine this person, and you're going to step it out. So it's going to be somebody who could be in front of you or around you in a circle, many somebodies. And we don't want this person to suffer. We know what this suffering is like. We don't want them to be misunderstood. That's a very painful thing. It's being unseen, and what could be worse? We all want to be seen. So we imagine the person, let's say, in front of us. We see their suffering face, and we want to take away that suffering. So we breathe it in, and we use visualization and the tactile experience of feeling those dark, dense clouds of that suffering coming right into our hearts as we breathe. Our heart is right in between our lungs, right? So we breathe this in into our hearts. It takes bravery to do a compassionate act, and we're doing this right now. But I'll tell you a secret. Our hearts are like doorways to that great ocean. So as we breathe in the suffering, it goes through the doorway of our compassionate heart. And then we're able to take the great joy and the perfect ability to see that person just as they need to be seen. That we can breathe out in the form of spacious, sparkling, glowing clouds that envelop that person. and we see their face turn to a smile. So we're going to do this again and again, and we're going to start with ourselves and expand it out, 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 till it's all on everyone. And we're going to have to do it quickly because I only have 8 minutes and 45 seconds. This is normally done a little bit more slowly and gracefully. So start with yourself. Remember a time when this has really been up for you, and maybe it's up for you right now. There's somebody in your life who is just continually not seeing you, no matter what you do. And it's painful. You're suffering from that. So you take your small, suffering self and tuck it right into your heart, your compassionate heart. And so normally we kind of hold ourselves together in the suffering, but now this suffering self is enveloped by your compassionate heart. And so you breathe in the suffering, the dense, thick, dark clouds. You breathe that into your heart. Take it away from this small, suffering one. And as you exhale from all around this suffering one, your surrounding heart breathes bright, billowing clouds into this one, surrounding them, but really soaking in. And you see the suffering one relax, his or her face opening up. And we breathe again, breathing all of that suffering out into our hearts. And as we exhale, the joy from the entire ocean of being floods this one. And of course sees this one perfectly. And they smile. And just one more. Breathing in those deep, dark clouds. And exhaling into this suffering one, those spacious, bright clouds. Now think of somebody you care a lot about, and you easily can feel compassion for. See them in front of you. Now you know that at some point, and even maybe right now, they are being unseen by somebody in their lives. And it pains you so much. You know this suffering. You want to take this away from them, and so you breathe in their suffering. Breathe in those dense clouds, right into your heart, which is the doorway for the bright, glowing clouds that you breathe out into them, surrounding them with joy and the feeling of being truly seen. Breathe again. And now we know, because we took a vote, that everyone in this room has had that same or similar kind of suffering, has somehow been unseen. And so we breathe for everyone in this room. We don't want even one person in this room to suffer any more from that. So now we can finally do something. We breathe in those dark clouds from every person in this room, right into our hearts. And we breathe out the joyful, glowing clouds from the whole ocean of being that is pure joy and pure love and pure compassion. And so we don't see their suffering anymore. We see their faces open as we breathe yet another breath. And it opens into a smile. Every person in this room glowing with the joy of being seen. And now we breathe for everyone in California. I'm sure each and every one of them have suffered from this and probably are suffering from it now. So we breathe for all of them. We breathe for all kids who are being bullied and truly unseen everywhere in the world. Seeing their faces change. And they smile. And now we breathe for all and everyone. Every wave on the ocean. Breathing in the suffering and breathing out the joy of being truly seen, truly loved, truly joined with us all. I ask you now to reflect for a moment on how you feel right now. How does your heart feel? How does your body feel? An interesting fact, the place in the brain that is activated by positive emotions also includes compassion, which I found a bit surprising. So I ask you to spend 1 minute turning to your neighbor and sharing your experience. I know that's not much time. Sorry. Please come back together. Please come back together. I'm sorry, but I have to bring you back together. Our time is almost up. Please come back together. And I ask you to take one more breath, all of us together, for all beings who are suffering in this time. Breathing in all of that suffering into your heart. And exhaling joy and pure compassion and love. Seeing it soak into all beings. Thank you.